Mom had this big plan that we would sleep for the last several hours of the flight. So when we landed at 8 a.m., we'd hit the city ready to suck the marrow out of life or whatever. So after the movie was over, Mom and Augustus and I all took sleeping pills. Mom conked out within seconds, but Augustus and I stayed up to look out the window for a while. It was a clear day, and although we couldn't see the sun setting, we could see the sky's response. God, that is beautiful, I said, mostly to myself. The risen sun too bright in her losing eyes, he said, a line from an imperial affliction. But it's not rising, I said. It's rising somewhere, he answered, and then after a moment said, observation. It'd be awesome to fly in a super fast airplane that could chase the sunrise around the world for a while. Also, I'd live longer. He looked at me and asked you, because of relativity or whatever. He still looked confused. We age slower when we move quickly versus standing still. So right now time is passing slower for us than for people on the ground. College chicks, he said. They're so smart. I rolled my eyes. He hit his rear knee with my knee, and I hit his knee back with mine. Are you sleepy? I asked him. I asked him. Not at all, he answered. Yeah, I said. Me neither. Sleeping meds and narcotics didn't do for me what they did for normal people. Want to watch another movie? He asked. They've got a Portman movie for her Hazley era. I want to watch something you hadn't seen. You haven't seen. In the end, we watched 300, a war movie about 300 Spartans who protect Sparta from an invading army of like a billion Persians. Augustus's movie started before mine again, and after a few minutes of her hearing him go, Dan, or fatality, every time someone was killed in some badass way, I leaned over the armrest and put my head on his shoulder so I could see his screen and we could actually watch the movie together. 300 featured a sizable collection of shirtless and well-oiled strapping young lads, so it was not particularly difficult on the eyes. But it was mostly a lot of sword wielding to no real effect. The bodies of the Persians and the Spartans piled up, and I couldn't quite figure out why the Persians were so evil or the Spartans so awesome. Contemporaneity. To, to quote AIA, specializes in the kind of battles wherein no one loses anything of any value, except arguably their lives. And so it was with these titans clashing. Toward the end of the movie, almost everyone is dead, and there is this insane moment when the Spartans start stacking the bodies of the up, dead up to form a wall of corpses. The dead become this massive roadblock standing between the Persians and the road to Sparta. I found the gore a bit gratuitous, gratuitous, so I looked away for a second, asking Augustus, how many dead people do you think there are? He dismissed me with a wave. Shh, shh, this is getting awesome. When the Persians attacked, they had to climb up the wall of death, and the Spartans were able to occupy the high ground atop the corpse mountain. And as the bodies piled up, the wall of martyrs only became higher and therefore harder to climb. And everybody swung swords or shot arrows. And the rivals of blood poured down Mount Death, etc. I took my head off his shoulder for a moment to get a break from the gore and watched Augustus watch the movie. He couldn't contain his goofy grin. I watched my own screen through squinted eyes as the mountain grew with the bodies of Persians and Spartans. When the Persians finally overran the Spartans, I looked over at Augustus again. Even though the good guys had just lost, Augustus seemed downright joyful. I nuzzled up to him again. but kept my eyes closed until the battle was finished. As the credits rolled, he took off his headphones and said, "Sorry, I was awash in nobility of sacrifice." What were you saying? How many dead people do you think there are? Like, how many fictional people died in that fictional movie? Not enough, he joked. No, I mean, like, ever. Like, how many people do you think have ever died? I happen to know the answer to that question, he said. There are 7 billion living people and about 98 billion dead people. Oh, I said. I thought I thought that maybe since population growth had been so fast, there were more people alive than all the dead combined.